Good morning, all of you. I think we have been able to just have this class from home. So therefore, it's a type of attempt made by IBSL, and we have to thank them for that. And we can really continue the things in this manner. So therefore, we are in a position to now continue our course in this way. Today, I will try to discuss on this business continuity planning and more biased on information security management. And before that, I want to just present you another slideshow. It is really done by the Purdue University, and I want to just explain that. And I think you will be able to get some idea, get some clear idea about what is the meaning of business continuity planning and business continuity management, because that happens when we talk in terms of operational risk, where sometimes we can project or we can predict that this type of operation risk might come, but there are situations where we don't know what would be the type of calamity or type of contingency we are going to face. In that situation, we need to have a resilience program where we can just adopt when there's a calamity or catastrophe. So that is what you mean by business continuity planning and disaster recovery. So I think you will feel the real need of that type of plans in this type of very uncertain scenarios. So in that note, I want to just really put it in this form. And now the situation in the world is risk managers are really entrusted with the resilience programs. Now, in that context, the disaster recovery management is a very important aspect of that. And if we have a plan for the recovery, for resilience, that would be of great importance. Now, in order to have such type of resilience program, we need to study the way it can be launched. So shall we go to the presentation now? Anyway, before that, I want to just say that these things are really very practical situations, and all of you should think for yourself. So you have a self responsibility. So towards that self responsibility, you should have your own ways of doing things. But even though this is it is the situational dependent type of a thing, but you need to follow the basic rules of the game. That is the important and critical knowledge you need to get. Then we will go to the presentation. Now, here the bias or the concern is on the data processing and data processing capabilities. I think in the common world or in the present world organizations, this is very much relevant. Now, the PCP domain really addresses the continuation of critical business process when a disaster destroys data processing capabilities. So that is the heading here. And preparation, testing, and maintenance of specific actions to recover normal processing. So that is what you call the BCP. Anyway, this is really worthwhile to think about. What are the types of activities we should really put forward in this manner? Disasters can be natural or man-made. No, I think we should not really uh, focus more on these things. Actually, the focus has to be there now. It can be fire, flood, hurricane, tornado, earthquake, volcanoes. Now we can just add in the pandemics also here. Now the pandemic also will have so much of catastrophic implications. So therefore, we can add the pandemics also here. Then plane crashes, vandalism, terrorism, riots, sabotage, loss of personnel, etc. Anything that diminishes or destroys normal data processing capabilities. Now, these are the situations where any organization can face. Disasters are defined in terms of the business. Now, say, if a disaster happens and it doesn't harm the critical business process, then it would not be a disaster. But if it harms critical business process, it may be a disaster. Critical business process. Now, what is the meaning of critical? Critical in the sense the particular organization's business process is really stopped with that harming of critical business process. But there are some other business processes where you can stop for a period of time, but it won't really affect the organization's business process as a whole. But if it harms critical businesses, then it would be a disaster. Then there should be a time-based definition for that. So how long a business can exist without this critical business? That's the type of question you have to answer. That is what we call time-based definition or recovery time objectives or whatever. How long can the business stand the pain? And there's another thinking device where you have to think about the probability of occurrence of that type of a disaster. But when a disaster occurs, there's no such probability because it has already happened. Now, in the case of data processing or systems, the broad objectives are CIA, so you can just keep it in mind in that way. The availability, integrity, and confidentiality. So these are the three main objectives of a broad BCP because you should put the things available and you have to maintain the integrity and confidentiality. I think in a disaster, I think now in the today's circumstances, you will see that the COVID-19 actually challenged the BCP objective of confidentiality because now people have been entrusted with work from home and all that. So therefore, the confidentiality is really challenged. So therefore, in this type of a pandemic, you have to be very careful about these broad objectives. Now, these are the objectives of a normal business continuity plan. Create, document, test, and update the plan. Now, I think first of all should get together to create a plan, and it has to be documented and tested. And when you say tested, there should be a frequent testing. And you all know the regulators now impose a certain frequency of testing of business continuity plan. I think as per the regulations, at least there should be two business continuity testing or disaster recovery testing, we call it, at least twice a year. So the plan will have to address the timely recovery of critical business operations. It should address that. Then the other activity is the minimization of losses. And the requirements, there would be regulatory and legal requirements, and that requirements also to be met. I think it should clearly keep in your mind. Allow timely recovery of critical business operations. The plan should have that. The plan has to take on these lines: timely recovery of critical business operations, and minimization of losses, and meet legal and regulatory requirements. I think this is a rather clear indication of a characteristic of a business continuity plan. And first of all, there should be, the plan should address the timely recovery of critical business processes, operations. And at the same time, loss has to be minimized. And then, with all these things, while addressing all these things, it should meet legal and regulatory requirements also. Actually, the former type of BCPs and the yesteryear, those were really centered on data. But now it is not the case. Now the things are really distributed as operations, then personnel, networks, power, and all aspects are there, and all aspects of the IT environment. And now you can just look at it and the span of it. You need to really regard or consider on distributed operations. All distributed operations would be under the span of that. And personnel, every personnel, the networks and power, and not only that, all aspects of the IT environment. So you can just see the span of BCP now. Earlier, it was just a data center. Creation of a BCP is an ongoing process. There's no beginning, no end, and it's a type of a journey, never-ending type of a journey. Because every day you can do updates every day. Sometimes business processes or functions could evolve. Now you can just look at it. I think this is a very important phenomenon in the business continuity plan. You need to look at it as an ongoing process. It is not a project where you can have a beginning and an end. It is an ongoing program, and in the ongoing program, the creations, testings, maintenance, and updatings are there. So when the updates are there, you will have a new plan every day. So all these things can really worthwhile and really valid, since the business functions would evolve during the time. Now in the BCP team, there should be both the IT personnel, and not only the IT personnel, business personnel also should be there. And it requires the support of senior management, because senior management should sponsor these type of things. If we don't get the sponsorship of the top management, the board of directors and the senior management, then the BCP would not be a success. I think for your examination needs, these things are very important, because I want to, as an academic, I want to just put it this way, no? So you should really go through these things for your examination, and there can be a question regarding the BCP. So therefore, you make a note. Now we will just discuss about these phases. The first thing is the project management and initiation. So initiation, in the sense, I think in most of your organizations, this phase has already passed now. I think roughly about 10 years back, this might have been started in many organizations. I can remember my organization also, the business continuity plan really started, or that project started in somewhere in 2008. So it's about more than 10 years then that phase. So I think that's the type of a phase where there should be a certain awareness among all the staff with regard to this phase. But there can be a particular set of people who would be interested with this. But the awareness has to be made among everyone in the organization. That is the project management and initiation. So you need to select a handful of people for this project. That is what happens in many of the organizations. Then those people, they, with the initiation of project, management of project, the next it would be the business impact analysis. So the events being discussed, they will go through some hypothetical type of events and see the impacts to the business if such an event happens. That is what you call business impact analysis. Then you have to brainstorm, or you have to discuss about the recovery strategies in terms of the available resources, in terms of the competencies, in terms of the requirements. Because you need to see what should be given priority and all that. Then planning, designing and development. Plan, design and development is another one. So what I feel is in this BCP phases, the most important phase is business impact analysis and recovery strategies, because these two things would be the core of this. Because when you do the business impact analysis, you should really think about all possible alternatives. But there can be a situation where you have not really projected or whatever, but anyway, you need to just put forward all the types of alternatives as far as possible. Then the recovery strategies also. Then you can plan it, prioritizing whatever the things, and you need to develop. Then the last phase would be testing the plan and maintaining the plan. Maintaining in the sense, now there can be certain types of amendments or certain types of changes to the plan, and you need to make an awareness among everyone and train the people to act on a certain disaster with the plan. Right. Now we will discuss the phases one by one. The first phase is the project management and initiation. Now now what do you mean by established need? Established need in the sense that the project is for business continuity plan or disaster recovery plan. So need has to be established. There's a need because you have to analyze the possible risk to the organization, possible event risk. So then by just putting forward those things into the management, then the management will understand the need for a business continuity or disaster recovery plan. That is what we mean by establish the need of it. So for that, you need to analyze the possible risk to the organization arising from an event, catastrophic event or whatever. By doing that, by establishing the need to face with certain catastrophes or whatever, you would be in a position to get management support. Because it is the necessity of an organization to have a business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan. So because of that, management will support the project management, and initiation will be supported by the management. Then the third stage or third step of the project management and initiation is to establish the team. Now in the team, you need to have people to carry out different functions of business continuity management, disaster recovery. And there should be technical people there. And there should be coordinators, business continuity coordinators. Because the coordinators will really look after their own departments, because this is a enterprise-wide type of a project where you need to carry out or implement these things all over the organization. So therefore, in the organization, there are different units, different departments, different divisions. So all these divisions should have a business continuity coordinator. Then the creation of a work plan. In the work plan, you need to be very clear about the scope, the goals, methods, and timeline. In the work plan, you need to have all these things. Then the project can submit an initial report to the management. The project can do it. So with that report, the management would go through it and the management will give the approval to proceed. So this is the project management and initiation stage. What I feel is these things, even though these things are generally mentioned, but there can be some other steps now that would be say relevant for the organization. So as per the different organizations, there can be different types of steps which you need to include in this type of a phase. I think that is the innovation a person has to really come up with. So this is only a generic type of steps, but there can be, as I told you, different organizations and different organization cultures would need some other steps, or some of these steps can be just omitted, or new steps can be taken in. So that of course depends on the organization. So that is the innovation a person should have while getting know these things, but that person has to adopt these things into the needs of the organization. Now the second is the business impact analysis. This is the Now, actually, we talked about the first phase, the project management and initiation, and I think it is clear for you now what is that phase. And then we will go to the business impact analysis, and it's the core of the BCP. It's a core. Right. Now, this needs so much of articulation. Just look at the goal of business impact analysis. Obtain formal agreement with senior management on the MTD. MTD is the maximum tolerable downtime for each time critical business resource. Now, for example, if your transaction processing is stopped, how long you can be without the transaction processing? So that is what we call downtime, maximum tolerable downtime. So we call it the maximum allowable outage, also the same thing. So these things to be agreed on with the management, because with that the impact analysis really being made. Critical business resources. Now, critical business resource in the sense, now say, for example, say the people are not there. So you have only 1 or 2 persons, where the things being carried out by 10 persons. So then the critical business resource is the people. So likewise, you need to decide on certain things. So that is the goal of a business impact analysis. Then it quantifies the loss due to business outages. Now it can be a financial cost or extra cost of recovery and embarrassment. Now embarrassment, really what happens is when something goes wrong with an organization, some outage or whatever, it will really affect the organization's reputation. So then it is a real reputation risk. It's a real reputation risk. So therefore, where a business outage happens, the loss would not only be financial, it would be the recovery cost, and it is also financial, but embarrassment of reputation loss is also, you can't really value it, invaluable, or you can't do that. So therefore, the business outages will have a very severe effect on the organization. But here in the impact analysis, we don't need to estimate the probability of incidents, but it is only the quantification of consequences or the impact. That is why we call it impact, because when there's a risk has 2 components. The one component is the possibility of happening. The other component is the impact. Here we are going to just quantify the impact. Consequences in the sense the real result of a risk. Right. Now I think you got a good idea about business impact analysis. So any questions? Because this is a very practical type of thing, and I think most of you might have engaged in this type of business continuity plans or whatever. Any organization, any financial organization should have this type of BCP plan. And just to add something here, now when you do this business impact analysis, basically what is the what is the document or what is the base for this type of thing. You can remember that when we talked in terms of risk and control self-assessment, we just discussed about the functions of the particular department or particular unit. Now, those functions to just carry out the functions, there should be a set of steps. Now, for each of these steps, there will be an inherent risk. So from that, you can get an initiation for this business impact analysis, because you can just go by the functions of the unit, and really those functions can be more divided into different steps, and those steps can be taken as the incidents, and then you can just get the impact of those things. Then the recovery strategies. This is the third phase.
So let me ask.
Yeah.
Now with this COVID pandemic, now the business patterns and things are always changing now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that in response to those changes, this BCP plans also changing, no?
Yeah. Yes. Of course. Yes.
So that means we need to attend these in a frequent manner to change these things. Is that so?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. No, it's like this now. Actually, I just told you that in my previous slides, because when you do this impact analysis, here we say the BCP team must include both business and IT, and then creating, testing, maintaining, and updating. Now, when you say updating, now what you say is we are updating, because the business functions would evolve. Not only the business functions, the environment would evolve, and the risk environment could change. So therefore, what we need to do is we need to update all these things, and it's a type of a continuous type of process. So you can't really have a just plan and then wait. When the plan is there, but you need to see how you can adjust your things or how you can update your things according to the needs of the environment. So the COVID is a type of example now which we can take, because all the things being now changed. So therefore, we have to adjust our things accordingly. Your question is very valid at this moment. So anything else? Is that answered your question?
Yes. Thanks.
Now, when we go to the third phase, the recovery strategies. Now, this is also a type of articulation made by the team members, and in order to get these strategies documented, they need to have brainstorming sessions, and they need to have discussions, they need to have workshops and all sort of things. This is a very very strenuous type of a thing for a business continuity management team, because they need to go for these recovery strategies. And it's a articulated type of a thing where you can't really just put something on the paper. But this is the type of articulation people have to make, and there we need to have some experts. And these recovery strategies should be based on MTD, that is a maximum tolerable downtime. And it should be predefined, and management should approve it. I think these recovery strategies also now, say for example, as your question, now what you said is now as per the COVID pandemic, now we are really experiencing something now, but we can project some more things in the future. So then for those things, we can have some recovery strategies. Proactively we can just suggest or submit recovery strategies if that happens. So still cannot happen, but in this particular trend, we might really anticipate that type of things in the future. So as it is, you say, you can really update your plans, update your strategies. Now this is the fourth place, the fourth phase. It is the development of a BCP and implementation. So there should be a detailed plan for recovery. Now, of course, now when you have a particular calamity, you will really feel the importance of PCP. And then you need to see how you can implement that at that moment. But the problem is, when a disaster happens, in many organizations, the BCP plan is just a document. It has not been implemented. There's no awareness of the BCP or whatever. So that happened. Many organizations. But some organizations are very much updated on them. So those organizations will be in a position to be resilient in any type of a calamity. Now, in a BCP development implementation stage, you need to have a detailed plan for recovery and business and service recovery plans, then maintenance, awareness and training, testing. All these things are coming under the implementation. Now, leave the final phase. Now, though it is final, we can't say it is final because when you say testing maintenance, now when you say maintenance, under the maintenance, the organization would face with several issues, because when you test and just look at it and you will see that there are several instances the BCP didn't work. Then you have to do certain type of adjustments into your plan. I mean, it would be more beneficial to the organization if you have done it some other way. So then you can just make the adjustments. And with that adjustments, the plan would be a little different at the next time. So that is with testing. So therefore, when you say maintenance, that maintenance is that. So therefore, every time after any type of business disaster recovery testing or whatever, then there will be a report. And in that report, you will identify the different types of shortcomings, different types of issues, and then you need to suggest the amendments, the new things. So that is how the BCP is going. So therefore, it is not a, there's no end or beginning for these things. It's a continuous type of process. And awareness and training also, it is continuous. Because when you have some adjustments in the plan, some amendments, then it has to be, you have to just communicate with all the staff members, and the awareness has to be made, and training also should be there. Now, these are the things which you can just identify for a business continuity plan. But I think in most of your organizations, you have a business continuity plan, and there will be call trees and all. How you call the people, how you just in a disaster situation, how are we going to maintain the critical businesses and all that. That is there. So now what I need to ask is, anyone can just say, if someone is really handling this type of things in one of your organizations, you can just come up with your comments on this. Or at the first instance, you might just say that the initiation of these things would be, say, it has already been done, and about, say, 10, 15 years back it started or whatever. So such type of things. Anyway, what I ask is, now say, anyone can just give comments on the engagement of with this type of business continuity plan, and any comment anyone can make. I'm really welcome any comment of any one of you. Is Nishant there? Any comments? Yes. Now this business continuity management actually, I don't know, organization to organization, there can be different levels of concern for these things. But there's a regulatory requirement also. I think that is the most important thing. So you have to deal with the regulators. So therefore, I don't think that any organization can just disregard the importance of business continuity management plan. Right. Now, shall we go into the next presentation now? That is on yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you please explain? Can you please explain about the regulatory requirement? What is the extent of the requirement, like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, even though I am not very familiar with all these requirements, but I can just say for banks, there's a regular requirement of BCP, and there should be a disaster recovery testing. It has to be done at least twice a year. So that is one of the requirements, regulatory requirements, and you can really get those things. I can just direct you to a certain type of a place where you can get the requirements. I mean, it is in the CBSL website. That is rules and regulations for banks. There you say BCP requirements, and the BCP testing and all sort of things are given in that regulation. So there's a particular regulatory requirements which are included in a book. So in that I can just tell you the particular document which you need to go through to get those regulations, because it is there. It is in the central bank regulations. So they have just very categorically said the way it has to be done in a banking organization or non-bank financial institution. So therefore, those, I mean, in a nutshell, what I can tell you is there should be a business continuity plan, and the disaster recovery testing has to be done at least twice a year. So that is the regulation. But the details of which you can get from the document. So I will come back to you with the document number and all, right? Is that answer
Yes,
the
sir,
question?
thanks. Yes, sir, thanks.
Right. So nowadays the issue is most of the organizations think that the IT related things are the most critical things in business continuity. So I think that is true to a certain extent, but there can be several other issues which can crop up to challenge the continuity of the business, because the loss of people, loss of premises or whatever, floods and all, now all these things will affect the business continuity. So therefore we should not think that it is only the IT infrastructure we are referring to, but IT infrastructure plays a major role here. So that is what we need to think. So therefore, in risk management also, we have given a great importance to uh, information security type of thing, cyber security type of things, and all sort of things has come with that uh, severity, because it really affect any organization, because now all the organizations are now automated. Therefore, this IT related activities, the real implication of those things, you can't really disregard. So that is the issue. But it doesn't mean that it is the only thing. There can be several other things which can come with the people, process, or technology, or whatever it is. Now, what I want to tell you is, now you will be able to get this document by going to the CBSL website. In the CBSL website, you have regulations for banks, and if you click that, then you will get invariably you will get it. Then, but anyway, I will give you the name of the document, so then there won't be an issue. Anything else you need to clarify on this? And what I need to ask is, are you comfortable, or are you confident about your organization's business continuity plan? Are you aware whether you have a business continuity plan or not? So that is what I think. If you don't want to answer question anyway, so you just think to yourself and see what it is, and that is what I am asking. So you just think to yourself and you ask question from you to say that whether my organization has a business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan, or whatever, and if all the employees have an awareness about it. So that is the question you need to ask from yourself. And if the answer is no, then you have to be very careful, and whatever the way you can just inform your management about it. But I don't think that all the organizations are now equipped with the business continuity plan. That is my thinking. Anyway, I don't know. So that, of course, if you have that type of organization where a business continuity plan is not there, so you have to just have it as soon as possible. Now these things actually you need to, and I think there's another question arising here. How are we going to now say, in many organizations you have disaster recovery sites. The meaning is when something goes wrong with some place, say your database or your computer system is affected by some flood or whatever, then you need to operate from somewhere. You need to have a backup system somewhere. I think you have that awareness. So then who take the decision to do that? So likewise, now there are several things which you need to understand of this particular process. So I think in most of the banks, there are given disaster recovery sites, but those are confidential. But anyway, the bank's employees know about it. And then when some disaster is declared by the disaster recovery team, then the particular processes and all the activities will be switched to another server or whatever. So that is the normal thing in an organization. Sometimes, say, in a lockdown also it can happen. Now, say, for example, if there's a lockdown in Colombo, the head office is in Colombo in most of the organizations, and if people cannot go there to operate the computer system or whatever, then how can we run the organization? So we have to have another site somewhere else, then we can operate from that site. So those are the types of things which we can really think about.
So it's what now happening in the country, no? In Colombo.
Yeah.
Of course, it's happening.
Yeah. No, that is why now people are really being entrusted to work at their homes. So work from home. So that is another system, no? So that's a type of a thing which arises through that.
Yeah.
So I think all these things are very much practical, and since we are in a pandemic, so we need to think about all these alternatives. So otherwise, we may not be in a position to be resilient. The word is now, the key word is resilience. So that is for anything else, I think it is the most critical word nowadays, the resilience. Now, in our case also, now we have been able to arrange this type of mechanism to deliver our lectures. So I am from my home. I just do it, and you also are at your places, and we all can do the particular discussion as in the classroom. So this is a good thing, no? I mean, it's a good recovery point. And what we can do is, what I'm telling is, each person can have their own innovative ideas to deal with this type of situation. That is for survival. So not only the organizational type of things, your home matters or whatever, you can really carry out in this way. Even now, say, for example, if you want to channel a doctor, so then how are you going to do that? You can't go there. And you feel that it's a very dangerous thing where you, visit a hospital nowadays. So therefore, you can be at home and you can just do a channeling with the doctor over the computer, e-channeling or whatever. So that can be done, but only issue is now the physically you can't touch the doctor, or you can't have a doc with the doctor. The particular discussion is not physical, but anyway, it's a virtual discussion. You will get the instructions. That's all. But anyway, it's a recovery type of a thing. No, I mean, you can really just work out to the most critical things. So this is the thing which we need to discuss.
So now, so how we measure or how we evaluate the effectiveness of this BCP planning or this entire process?
Yeah, effectiveness. Now, that's a good question. Now, when we try to do that, you have to just see the impacts of the events. Now, impacts in the sense, now for example, now if something goes wrong, then invariably the business is not being, you can't do the business process. And then what you do is you go into a recovery situation, and then sometimes you might be able to just recover it within a certain period of time, say 1 or 2 hours late. But during that period, you lose some business. Not only that, at the recovery process also you need to incur some cost. Now, if the recovery is done according to your plans, then that particular, I mean, you have been able to recover it within a MTD. So that is the maximum tolerable downtime. So if you do not have that type of process, then you are not in a position to get it recovered. So the effectiveness can be checked through that. So what you have to do is you have to see what type of calamities you faced and how long had it been taken to recover it. If you did it within the MTD, then it is effective. If you couldn't do it within that time, it is not effective. I mean, now you can have a certain type of criteria to just measure it. So, for example, say your maximum tolerance downtime is, say, tolerable downtime is, say, 1 hour. But as per the business continuity plan, you have been able to recover the system within half an hour. Then you are successful. And another thing, you have not been able to just recover it in half an hour, but it took about 45 minutes. Then the particular effectiveness of that is lower than the earlier one. No? So likewise, you can have a small way of just evaluating it. Now that evaluation has to be done in terms of the maximum tolerable downtime and how long you have taken to recover it. You can do a comparison and see how effective your plan.
So how, how do we, let's say if we have some sort of financial losses due to this operation, this thing, so can we take that loss as well?
Yeah, of course, yes, of course. Now, what I am telling is there are 3 things to be considered. Now, one is the financial loss, the other one is the recovery expenses made on recovery. That is the second thing. The third thing is the embarrassment and the reputation issue. These are the 3 things. I think you need to take, take into consideration all these 3. I think your question is very valid. I mean, financial loss can be measured, right? That is one thing. Then there's another one which would be the recovery cost. That is number 2. Number 3 is the reputation loss. So that is little difficult for us to measure. But anyway, there should be a way of doing it. So if you take into consideration all these 3, you can see whether our recovery methods are effective. The effectiveness can be measured through that. Is that clear?
Yeah. So what are the ways that we can measure?
That's a good question, but it's really challenging, right? Really challenging. Even though I say this, I can tell it in this manner, but when you try to do it, you will feel it as a very challenging operation, because it's like this. No, now the financial loss you can really measure. There's no issue on that, but it is difficult for you to measure the recovery cost. Even recovery cost can be measured, say, but the reputation, how are we going to measure that? So this is the issue. But anyway, there are several ways in which you can do that, because there's a thing called qualitative measurements. Now you can apply the qualitative measurements for these things. Now say I think you must have come across certain things in research. Now there's a scale of 1 to 5. Now it coming from agree and disagree or something like that. So such type of Likert scale, we are in a position to measure these qualitative type of things. The reputation also can be measured in that manner. But I don't say that it is a 100% accurate type of a thing, but you can have estimation. So therefore, we can't say that we cannot do that, but we can do it, basically. Now, it is a challenging operation, challenging type of a thing, but you can have a type of a schedule to do the evaluation. Now, for example, you have the financial, in your schedule, you can have financial part of it. You can have the disaster recovery or the recovery part of it, the cost of recovery part of it, then the reputation part of it. So then you can have several lines there. In the financial thing, it's a straightforward type of thing where the loss can be calculated and then put it that way. Then the recovery cost also you can measure, I think, the recovery cost. So that measurement has to be done with regard to the MTD and all that. There we can devise a methodology for that. But our challenge would be the reputation issue. So there also we can go through a certain type of indicative type of a thing and just do that. So with all these three taken into consideration, you can see the real cost or real loss we made on that. And depending on that loss, you can decide whether your disaster recovery plan is effective or not. How effective? I mean, it is 30% effective, 50% effective, or 75% effective. So that type of thing we can do, but it is a challenging operation. Now, I am not in a position to answer your question fully, because now it involves several types of structural type of things. Now, as I told you in a nutshell, what I told was there are three perspectives we have to look at it. Now, one is the financial perspective, then the recovery perspective, recovery cost perspective, then the reputation perspective. These are the three things. So we have to really identify or innovate a certain way of measuring these three things. And through the measurement, we are in a position to have a certain estimation of the loss. So when you do that, I think the financial loss, it is a straightforward type of thing because you can really measure it. But the second is also, to a certain extent, we can do the recovery cost. The third one, the reputation cost, is a rather challenging thing to measure. But we can do estimation for that. With that, we are in a position to measure the loss we incurred for that calamity. And how we have recovered is the other issue. So then say, for example, if you come to a certain level and say that the particular loss was 100 million, whereas we have been able to recover it in a certain period of time, so we can minimize the things. And that is to that extent, it is effective. So for example, with this 100 million, now if we have been able to just recover another, say, 30 million, that means that it is 30% effective. So it is a little difficult for me to explain it, but I think that you get some idea about it in this way. Is that okay?
Right. Thank you.
And the other thing is, people are really, now, when we talk in terms of these things, but people's perceptions are a little different. Because now, say, for example, if you are in a bank branch or somewhere, now your concern is to somehow start the computer and start your operations. So then you will try to just do the transactions without using the computer if the computer is not working. So then you can go to trial balance or whatever, and there are several other ways to do it. So these are the recovery processes you normally follow in a branch. But anyway, those things are also really effective sometimes. So therefore, I think that is also to be taken into consideration in such a situation. Now you can just look at any practical type of situation. See, now that all depends on the people's capabilities in the organization at that time. I have seen in some organizations when the system breaks down, people are just, I mean, they can't do anything. They don't need to do anything. So then the reputation loss is so much in that case. But there are instances where people are very much active and they do whatever they can do to revive the organization. So then their reputation loss is low. You get my point? So therefore, now all these things are situational. But what I want to tell you is, if you have an articulated type of a plan and people know about it, people have an awareness about it, then all the people can act and rise to the situation and act in a disaster, when a disaster happens. Because people have already articulated the things and they have an awareness, then they can get together and really rise to the situation. So that is what we expect from a business continuity management plan. Even this pandemic also, we really, I don't know in anywhere in the world it has been anticipated. No anticipated, but when the things were reported at the beginning, so it was first reported in last year, no, December last year, and I think some of the people, they might have had a alarm at that time, and they also might have thought that this would come to our country also. So then they could have planned a disaster recovery for this. So I think some may have done it, might have done it. I think you got the point now. Say, though it had not been materialized to our country yet or whatever, if something goes wrong somewhere else, so you might think, or you can really think that it would happen to us also in time to come. Right? No, that is the spirit you need to have in a disaster recovery or business continuity plan management situation. So you need to have that type of thinking. That is very important, the thinking. And the other thing is the way it is institutionalized. I don't know whether you got my point. Now, for example, for an organization, I told you that there should be business continuity coordinators. Business continuity management coordinators should be appointed. And those coordinators will look after their unit and their department. And there's a network of these people. And the disaster recovery team, there's a team called disaster recovery team, and that team will, or the particular committee, they decide and they just inform the coordinators what to do. And there are call trees and all. And the call trees would be the people who need to be contacted when something goes wrong. And it has to be updated every time. I think you all have those things in your organizations, but I don't know. Some of the organizations, they don't even, it's only limited to a document. It is not an activity. But in some organizations, it is actively being done. So you all can now leisurely think whether my organization has a proper business continuity plan. Everyone knows about it, and any business continuity coordinators and disaster recovery testing is being done. All these questions you can ask to yourself and see whether how can you assist or how can you really help your organization to have it if it is not there. So then that's a very much a value addition to your organization. But it is very good if you have a proper or rational type of business continuity management plan in your organization, then there's no worry. But then you need to really get your mindset to that. Now, the other thing is sometimes you might have experienced when a disaster happens, it might happen in some part of the country, but it won't affect the whole business. But that particular part is affected. And then there can be some recoveries which you can make locally. So that's another way. But that is also a disaster. But it is little, easy to handle that type of things rather than handling a global type of a disaster. Now, say for example, this pandemic, if it happens in 1 or 2 countries, it's not a big thing. But now it has gone to everywhere in the world. So that is the issue. But do you have any other things to clarify? I mean, with regard to this documentation and all? And I can just give you some type of, it is not assignment for marks or whatever, but what I want to tell you is now you need to do these activities to get a better understanding about this. First of all, you try your best to see the arrangements made by your organization towards disaster recovery management and business continuity. That is the first thing what you have to do, because that's a learning for you, right? Okay, so that is the first activity you have to do. Now you all should verify in this regard what has been done by your organization towards business continuity plan and disaster recovery management and the disaster recovery testing. So that gives you a good understanding about your institution, and you can see the gaps and all that, and you are aware of them. And if you are in a position to really suggest anything for your top management, that also you can do. So that is what you have to do as an activity, right? So that gives you a very good learning point. Then you try to see in your, now say if you are in an organization, you might be in a certain department, a branch or whatever. Then from that branch point of view, what are the types of things which are in operation towards business continuity management in your branch? So that's another thing which you have to do. I think it is clear, no? I mean, you can do that. And by doing that, you will get a very high learning opportunity. So you can see whether the quality of your business continuity plan is reasonable or satisfactory or whatever it is. That is one of your activities, really. Now, is that question, is that instruction clear? If it is not clear, you can ask questions. So what you need to do is you need to go and just look at the way in which your organization do the business continuity management and disaster recovery, whether they have done a disaster recovery testing. So that type of things. And be careful when you deal with these things, because in some organizations, they don't like to divulge these things to other people, or you are not other people, but you are in the same organization. But be careful when you deal with that, and just look at it and see. I don't think that it is a difficult task, but you can do it. And after doing it, you can just look at it and see what type of testing they do, what type of awareness programs they do, and all that. So that's the type of an understanding you need to have, because now it really deals with the operational risk of the organization. Now, do you think that this type of an activity is a possible one? Because this is for your sake of your awareness, sake of your knowledge. I am just asking this to do. Is it possible to do that? I don't feel any barrier for that. You can do it, and just see whether you have in your organization you have a proper disaster recovery plan and business continuity management plan, and whether they are doing testing, whether they make awareness among the staff members, and that type of things. Right.
Excuse me, sir.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have a question on what is the difference between business continuity plan and the disaster recovery plan?
Good question. Business continuity plan, we call it, if it is properly said, it is like this: business continuity management plan, right? So that is one name. The other name is disaster recovery plan. Now, business continuity management means you have to manage the business continuity. How you manage the continuity? So you have to assure the continuity of the business. The management of that is the business continuity management plan. Now, disaster recovery is more or less similar, but disaster recovery is actually when a disaster happens, what would be the recovery plan? That is what you mean, disaster recovery plan. Now, business continuity management it's an ongoing thing, but disaster recovery plan is activated when a disaster happens. It is part and parcel of business continuity plan, business continuity management plan. Is that clear? Because
Yes,
disaster recovery is when there's a disaster, and there should be a plan to recover from that disaster, right? So disaster recovery plan is that. Now, when you say disaster recovery management, now there should be a disaster. I mean, when a disaster happens, you need to see how you can get rid of it and recover from it. So that is what you call the disaster recovery plan. So when a disaster happens, but business continuity is another thing. Business continuity is the overall thing. I mean, when a disaster happens, it will affect the business continuity. Therefore, there should be a disaster recovery plan. So even without a disaster, there can be a business continuity some challenges to the business continuity without a disaster even. So that can happen. But disaster is one of the things for challenging the business continuity. You got my point? Because business continuity management is the overall one, and in that you have a subset disaster recovery plan. Because disasters are on and off now. Every day we don't get disasters now. Disasters are normally rare. So when a disaster happens, what are we going to do? That is the disaster recovery plan. But business continuity management it's an ongoing process. So, but the disaster recovery management plan is part and parcel of business continuity management. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Yeah. And after all, now our objective is to continue our businesses without any trouble. At least the critical businesses. That is our objective. At least the critical businesses. Now, are you in a position to really look into your organization's business continuity plan and disaster recovery arrangements? I think all of you should be in a position to do that, because it's a type of a learning exercise. So you do it, because my recommendation is that. Then rather, now I just went through a presentation and I just give some type of ideas, but that alone will not help you. You need to have a discussion. You need to talk on these things. You need to see a real business continuity management plan, real disaster recovery plan, and all that. So through your organization, you can do that, and then your knowledge and your capabilities towards this business continuity would be very much polished. That is what we need to do. So having done these things, a person would become a real risk manager. Nowadays, the risk management really gets a very high regard, because everyone in an organization now leans towards the risk manager. Then the risk manager should be in a position to really meet the expectations of the other members of the staff. By doing the proper thing.
So another question.
Yeah.
So as you told earlier that there has to be some BCP coordinators at each business level.
Yeah.
What are the responsibilities and scope of that coordinators?
Yeah. Now I think that's a very good question. And in the business continuity management plan itself, the coordinators been identified, and they have been given a task. Now the task is to see that who are the people responsible and who should be called when something goes wrong, and that type of call tree and whatever it is given to the coordinator. That is how he has to coordinate the activities in the particular department. That is the real aspect of a business continuity coordinator. Now it's like this. Now say, for example, now in a branch, a person is really appointed as the business continuity coordinator. Now for a disaster recovery test team or whatever, then the disaster recovery team communicate with the business continuity coordinator, and that business continuity coordinator communicate with the branch staff. So business continuity coordinator is really informed with all these activities and all these things will be conveyed by him to the branch staff. That is the duty of the business continuity coordinator. And he will really coordinate with the main body of disaster recovery management and business continuity, and it will be conveyed to the branch staff. That is his duty. And even the other way also, if something, say, the branch staff want to convey to the disaster recovery team or disaster recovery management unit or the business continuity management unit, they can convey through the business continuity coordinator. That is his duty. Can you remember that when the lost data collection was made, those lost data collection also, we just appoint a person in each branch. Lost data reporting, basically. Lost data reporting. So likewise, you have a person for business continuity management also. So that person is called the business continuity coordinator. And as it is, now I told you at the beginning, the first phase of business continuity management is project management and initiation. At that initiation period, the people would be identified, the opinion leaders, to convey this project ideas to the membership or all the staff members. And they are in that particular team, people have been identified. Those identified people will be appointed as business continuity coordinators into the branches. Because the requirement is to convey the message to the branch staff. Since the business continuity coordinator is an opinion leader, he is in a better position to convey the message to the branch staff. You got my point? These coordinators are normally being identified at the initial stage in the business continuity management plan or business continuity process. I have given you 5 phases. No, in that 5 phases, the first phase is project management and initiation. At that stage, the people who are very much, conversant with business continuity management been selected, and they form the total team. And in the team, as a team member, he would be an opinion leader for all other staff members, and each of these people will be appointed as coordinators into different branches. You got my point? So that is how it has been done. Not only the business continuity management, some other things also, if you want to really disseminate into the whole organization, you have to do that. You have to identify the opinion leaders, and those opinion leaders has to be appointed in different areas to disseminate the project idea. Is that okay, the answer?
Yes, sir. Answer is okay.
Yeah.
Another one is to have a proper business continuity plan. First
Yeah.
of all, we need to identify what are the critical activities or critical function of the organization.
Yeah.
Then who will be responsible for that type of things?
Very good. Very good question. Now, I think I told you in our business continuity management process, the plan, it is a second phase, impact analysis, right? The impact analysis, under the impact analysis, you just identify all these critical things. As it is, as I told you earlier. Now, can you remember that when I told you risk and control self-assessment, what you do is, you ask the department or the branch to identify their functions, basic functions which they carry out. And for each function, they can identify the steps. Now, in those steps, you can see when a disaster happens, what is the impact on those particular functions. So, and they identify those things. That identification is done at the initial level under the impact analysis, business impact analysis, right? So that has been done at the beginning, and that really been done together with the peripherals, the branch staff, the department staff, and all, because at that point all these things are being taken into consideration. You can remember, no? Now I just told you 5 phases. Under the 5 phases, the second phase is business impact analysis, BIA. Under the business impact analysis, all these critical business processes been identified, and the impact is analyzed there. As it is, we are not going to talk in terms of possibility of happening, but the impact only we calculate. That is very critical. Now that is why I told you those branch coordinators are the people who articulated all these things. That is why the particular person became a branch coordinator. Is that clear? So your question is where you can really identify those things. So you identify those things in the business impact analysis stage, because in that stage, those people will go through each and every department and branch, and they identify each and every function, and they really identify the critical functions also. Got my point? Right. Now I will give you a break now. We will start by 10:15. In the meantime, you just think for yourself and just see whether you are in a position to do what I wanted you to do. You go to your particular organization and see what are the business continuity management activities the organization is doing, and the disaster recovery processes, and what type of tests they have made, or what are the types of whether they are having business continuity coordinators or whatever, and that type of thing. So you do a certain type of a survey in your organization. I mean, you should be careful, otherwise your organization might find fault with you sometimes. So don't do that, but you just for your sake you do it, and just see that, and you can learn so much of things by that. That is what I am asking you to do. Anyway, you just think about it during the break, and we will start by 10:20, right? We will start by 10:20. Right. Welcome back to the session. I will start with another presentation on information security management. In this program, in this presentation, I will just convey the things under this outline: the introduction, then what is information and information assets, then information security management, then implementation of security controls, then the most important employee responsibilities and do's and don'ts. Now, this particular presentation is not really comprehensive, very comprehensive, but this is a type of a guidance or a guideline. But you need to just enrich this with different searches, where I will introduce and I will guide you to just do the different searches under these things. So what is an information asset? And it has an information value. Now, information asset has an information value. If data and information is in the form of digital media or even in paper or knowledge of employees, so those things are taken as information assets. Now you can just look at this diagram. You can see information assets. What are the types of information assets here? Now, starting from desktops, laptops, printers. Then you have people. Because if people are there with the information technology knowledge, that is also taken as information assets. Then paper and documents, that is also the files and all sort of things are coming under information assets. Then software applications, servers, routers and all. Then USB, external HDD and CDs, DVDs and all are coming under information assets. I think now you get a good idea about information assets by looking at this slide. And this is a very handy type of explanation. So your this is a scheme for your knowledge. And this slide really give a clear idea about what is an information asset. Information can exist in many forms. It can be stored electronically. It can be printed or written on paper. Verbally spoken in conversations. Transmitted by post or used in electronic means. Now, beyond the information technology teams, you can say that is there also, you can say it is information. Now, when you say paper, documents and all come in under information, even though those are not in electronic media. Now, when you say whatever the form the information is having, information security management means we need to protect information and need protection. Now, that is protecting information assets from the threats and vulnerabilities. Now, when I say CIA, confidentiality, integrity and availability. If something goes wrong and it would cause harm to information's confidentiality, integrity and availability, then it would be taken as a threat. Vulnerability is a weakness in a system or control gaps that if exploited could result. Right, now you can see the threats first. Computer assisted frauds. I think that is straightforward and anyone can understand what it is. Computer assisted frauds. Espionage is something to do with intelligence activities. Then sabotage, vandalism, fire or flood. all can be taken as threats. When fire or flood comes, all the information assets can damage. Vandalism, that is people's activity. Sabotage is also a people's activity. Espionage, it is something to do with intelligence activities. And there are computer-assisted frauds. And vulnerabilities, if you have a storage without any protection, that is a vulnerability. And at the same time, password management is poor, there also the vulnerability crops up. Then lack of backups. Uncontrolled downloading of software. Now, when you download software without looking at the source or without confirming the genuineness of the source, that is what you call uncontrolled downloading of software. And lack of physical protection. I think people feel this is the vulnerability in most cases, lack of physical protection. But in addition to the lack of physical protection, there are several other things which can become a vulnerability. Unprotected storage, poor password management, lack of backups, uncontrolled downloading of software, lack of physical protection. Now, I think you can have a mental picture on these things. Nowadays, there's a big talk going on with regard to cyber security, cyber attacks and all sort of things. But I think this particular thing is not really addressing that, but anyway, you can extend it to the cyber attacks also here. Right. Now, the meaning of information security is protection and prevention of CIA, confidentiality, availability, and integrity of information. Now, actually, this information security really established on the pillars of people, processes, and technology. Now, information security is really compromised if any of these pillars being weak. It can be weakness of people, it can be a weakness of process, it can be a weakness of technology. Right. Now you can see in detail what you mean by managing the integrity of information, managing the confidentiality of information, managing the availability of information. So that is what you call security. Now, the meaning of confidentiality, the managing confidentiality is ensuring that information is accessible only to those who are authorized to have access on it. Now, I think this is understood. If someone else access the information which are meant for some other people, then that is the breaching of confidentiality. if you can ensure that the information is accessible only from authorized hands, so then it is confidentiality. Then integrity is safeguarding the accuracy and competence of information and processing methods. Now, if you are sure about the accuracy of information and processing methods, and it will really process in a form where the information is not so safeguarding the accuracy of the information, so that is what you call integrity. Availability is ensuring that authorized users have access to information whenever required by them. So I think in most cases, in a disaster situation or some system failure, the first issue would be availability of information. Whenever the information is required, it is not available. So that is what most of the time it can become a calamity. Now, I have given you some basic rules of information security management, clear screen and clear disk policy. Always you have to, when you just leave the desk, what you need to do is you have to shut down or clear the screen and desktop also, and you can just introduce some access passwords or whatever, and no one else can access your computer. Ensure that your screen is locked whenever you leave your workstation using Control, Alt, Delete and Enter. Now, once your password is entered only, you can open the screen. You have to clear your desk before leaving. Keep confidential information in secure storage. Keep filing cabinets shut and locked when unattended. Now, all these are very physical type of things where even not only IT, but other things also, you need to have this type of a safekeeping. This is not a this is generally correct for anyone. Information should never be left lying around on unattended printers or fax machines. Empty in trays and clear your work area before leaving it. Now, I think all these are very generic type of things where all of us has to adhere to. Now, the files to be stored in folders. Desktop, I have seen, so in many cases, if you get a desktop and you feel that it's rattling, icons are there in the desktop. That is not a good way. So you need to keep the files in a folder. Then we can start with password management. Change the password at least once every 45 days. Never share or divulge your password even when receiving technical assistance. Do not use any password saving features. Now, I don't know. In a practical sense, there can be several instances of people used to write down their passwords in some confidential place. But anyway, I don't know. This doesn't say that it is a good practice, because even you can save your passwords in somewhere else, because otherwise now that could become a real nuisance every time you forget your passwords, because the passwords are necessary for several things. No? So then, if you are not using the same password everywhere, it is a big difficulty for you. But even that now do not use any password saving features in any application or software. Never write down or store passwords in readable format. Use passwords which are different from your previous passwords. Now all those are very generic type of instructions. It should be long and complex. Now all these things are very much generic. But even those things are generic, but I think these things to be reminded every time. Then internet and email security. Office emails are meant for business purposes. Now here the problem is the business emails and all, you have to be very careful. And even as a policy, the emails cannot be used in other forms for other requirements or other type of purposes. Regularly archive your mails and ensure sufficient space is available in your inbox. Now I have seen in many places some official communications, they really don't entertain personal emails, public. Yahoo email and that type of emails are not eligible for some of the communications. Now this is a big issue. Do not auto-forward emails to external email addresses. Proper email etiquettes. All these are type of instructions with regard to internet and email security. Then preventing social engineering. Right, now I think this is an interesting topic. Social engineering is an interesting topic. It is the art of manipulating people into divulging confidential information. So I think some tricky people can talk with people or do some manipulations or through emails or whatever. You can make the people divulge some confidential information they have. So that is what you call social engineering. Now in a telephonic conversation, sometimes a tricky person can extract from you some sensitive information which you should not reveal. Now, these are the normal etiquettes, but I think people should have a good knowledge about it. Now, these things are very general type of things. Watch out for shoulder surface means you can just lean your computer from a backside or side from your sideways, reading confidential information on your computer screen. So someone can peep into your computer from your backside. Never leave passwords or confidential information lying around. Now, all these things are really meaningful advices with regard to the information security management. Now, I think this is a very important thing where the operational risk management is concerned. Security incident reporting. And this is a particular activity where in organizations given a very high importance. Now, in this case, the instruction is to witness, if you witness any security incidents, immediately report it to the IT help desk. But IT help desk is a certain instance where you have, in most of the organization, there's an IT help desk, but it all depends on the organization. Now, in different organizations, there's a different mechanism to report these security incidents. But of course, in your organization, you need to see what type of mechanism is available to report security incidents. Now, this is like lost data reporting or whatever, but this is very much specific to the information security. Remember to report any security weakness or vulnerabilities which you may notice. Right now, the third one here, never try to prove a suspected weakness. Now, this is the type of a thing where if some person has a password, weak password, and you can really guess it, and you try to log into that account and show that the password is weak. So you should not do that because it will become a type of a breach of security and it can become a criminal activity. Now here there are rules of information security management, what you need to do. Lock your computer every time you leave your desk for long. If you leave your computer for a longer time, you need to lock it. Clear your desk before leaving for the day and put all files and folders in locked cabinets. then always carry your access card and use it to enter the. Now here, this particular one is referring to our organization, but this is a general type of a thing. Follow all laid down security instructions while in the premises as well as outside. Choose a password that is easy for you to remember but difficult for someone else to guess. And ensure that you have antivirus software installed with latest updates on your computer. And always be vigilant of strangers and unattended items and report to security if you spot them. Challenging an unjoined person not carrying an ID and ask for their identification. All these things are very general type of things. I think this is a very important type of instructions. Now you can see the store any data that can be classified as pornographic, hacking, racist or provocative. So you should not do that. Those are don'ts. Download or install freeware, shareware, screensavers, or any other such software or application on your computer. Don't do that, downloading that type of things. Send chain mails or mails containing large attachments which do not specify as business communication. Now, you have to be very careful when you have this type of files. If an attachment is with this type of thing in the attachment, .bat, .vb, and .exe type of things, you should not open these mails. Then publish any sensitive information on the internet. Use publish internet kiosk or cyber refers to access the network unless this is essential for business purposes. And leave the computer that you use at cyber cafes without closing the session window and logging out completely. Now, all these things are general type of instructions where you can deal with information security. Now, I think all these things are general instructions. But what we need to understand is all these things will really require a certain type of discipline. Yes. Right. Now we can start a discussion on this. Now, I want to just lead the discussion on information security. Now, your organizational type of things where I think in some organizations there's a position called Information Security Officer, CISO, Chief Information Security Officer or someone. Now that particular person reporting to the CRO normally. So that is the institutional arrangement for information security management. So I think we can have a discussion on these lines. So first of all, we need to see how we can arrange the infrastructure for this information security management. Now there it is very much necessary for us to have idea about what is information and information assets. Then the security management comes to the scene. Now it is, even though it is not mentioned here, now with regard to the information security, you can really talk in terms of virus guards. So virus guards are also coming into the scene now on the basis of information security. Right, anyway, now what I need is to just organize a discussion on this, because just going through the slideshow would not help, but we have to see how we can activate these things in an organization. So now we can talk on these things. Anyway, now I have some questions on you with regard to the information security. In your organization, is there an officer looking after information security? Even sometimes it may not be the chief information security officer, but some information security officer be there. But I don't know whether such a position is there in your organization. If not, I think there's a particular regulation also coming under this information security. That is also included in the central bank regulations. Now I will just go through those things, and I will let you know the regulation relating to this information security. Yes. Now you can. Right. With regard to the discussion now, yes, now I want to just ask you a question. Whether you have in your organization designated officer for information security. So I think in most organizations, information security officer is there. So that person will look after these information security matters. Basically, it is coming under operational risk. However, there's a special officer who will look after the information security. Yes, any questions on this? How it is been carried out in organizations? Yes. Because I think this is quite a good discussion. I mean, if you really engage in it, because highly practical. Yes.
Hello. So let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Now, as we discussed earlier, there are sort of kind of plan or a framework in order to manage or to continue the business continuity, right?
Yeah.
But here, in terms of IT aspects, are there any framework or guidance in place with regard to the IT risk management?
Yeah, of course. Now that is really that is also should be included in the business continuity this thing, because now IT has a, though it is specific, but that is also part and parcel of the normal business continuity plan, and there you need to have this. But this information security management is a different task taken it out from that. But in the business continuity management, you have a different aspect of IT business continuity. So that is coming under the business continuity plan. But this information security management is a different task. It is not in the business continuity task, but this is a separate one. Now, as you ask the question, now IT management and IT business continuity. So in the case of a business continuity, IT systems and all should be in a situation where you have to continue the operations. So that is the aspect which we look at when we deal with the business continuity management plan, right? But this information security management is a separate task. It is not included in that business continuity management, this thing. But information security is a separate one. That's the question you asked, I mean.
Yeah, then if you are talking about this IT risk management, so is it coming under the, let's say, risk department, or is it coming under the, I mean, combination of IT department and the risk department?
Combination of IT department and risk department. So that is the case. Combination, because now in most of the most of the organizations, there's a specific officer called information security officer, and in some organizations there's a information system security officer. So CISO is the chief information security officer, but that officer really reporting to the CRO in most cases. But in some organizations, there's a special officer who will look after only the information security. So that is coming under, actually, in actual form, it is coming under operational risk. In most organizations in Sri Lanka, it is a combination of IT and risk departments. I think in most organizations it is the case. But nowadays, the situation is complicated, because now people are talking in terms of cybersecurity most of the time. So that is a different subject in actual form. I just want to put you something in some documents or some type of resources on that, and I will try to put something here on these cybersecurity things. Anyway, so that's a different subject actually, but even though it's a different subject, it really coming under operational risk. Because the cyber attacks and all sort of things are very much in place these days. I mean, there are several news items on cyber attacks and the cyber sabotages and all that. So then in the and there's a thing called CERT. Have you heard about it? Information recovery or whatever, incident recovery. It's a national organization with regard to the information security measures. We call it CERT. that is organizations for what you call, I think the banks, some of the banks are getting the membership of those that organization. Now here, this is the grid for all these information security things, where you have to be very much careful about these things. And as it is, the information security officer will look after these things. And you can see the vulnerabilities, the list of vulnerabilities, and the list of threats which can happen. Now this espionage and all can be, the cyber attacks and all can be coming under espionage. Now, what I want to ask you is, now I don't know whether your question is answered. If it is not, you can just, yeah.
It's clear. Thanks, sir.
Right. Now, if you look at this grid, now you can see the threats. Now, threats are being taken into consideration in terms of CIA. Now, what do you mean by CIA? That is, C is for confidentiality, I is for integrity, A is for availability. Now, in terms of information, if the threats really being a threat for the confidentiality of information, integrity of information, and availability of information, then we will take those things as threats. Now, you can just see the list there: the computer-assisted frauds, espionage, sabotage, vandalism, and fire and flood type of things. So those are the threats. But I think in information security, the highest attention is given for espionage and computer-assisted frauds. The cyber attacks and all are coming under this. Even the vandalism and sabotage also is there, but basically the espionage and computer-assisted frauds are really talking about cyber type of attacks. And then it's a different subject now these days. It is talking about information security. And what I need to understand is, now in your organizations, whether you have a designated officer to handle this information security separately, or as you talked and as you just conveyed, that it is a matter of combination of risk management and the IT department. I think that is the practical solution in Sri Lanka. I think in most cases, even about say 5-6 years back, there was a discussion went on with the central bank, the regulator, and they also have a concern on this information security management, because they found it as a systemic type of a risk. Because if something goes wrong with a big organization, systemically important type of a bank or financial institution, if it happens, then it would be a systemic failure all over. So because of that, the central bank is so concerned about the information security also. So therefore, they have really made some representations among the banks, and they just wanted to have these banks strong in this area. So I think most of the banks have taken those things seriously. But ultimately, if you look at it in a simple way or in a very basic terms, you can just see the real threats here. The frauds are there, espionage is there, sabotage, vandalism, and fire and flood type of things are there. So those are the real threats, and those are security threats, and the protection has to be made by dealing with those threats. And the vulnerabilities are also there. So even a cyber attack is possible when your security firewalls and all sort of things are weak. But anyway, whatever strong the firewalls, sometimes the cyber attacks can really do the damage. So then hacking and all sort of things. So all these things are coming under this. Right. Now, anyway, what I'm asking is, as it is, the questions are very important, because just giving the information or whatever, now here I just do this presentation with some of the slides, but that won't be a comprehensive type of a thing, but it is only just a guideline. So then you can really have your own thinking, and then you can just articulate several things on this. And that is why I really want you to ask questions and have a discussion. So then that will really give some inputs to your thinking, and that is food for thought here. So anyway.
Sir?
Yeah.
So now, in the recent past, that banks are advertising not to give your passwords or anything like that for people who are calling you and asking. So is that no? Criminals taking advantage of giving. So some articles, they say similar to the banks, they especially put ad saying that we need your password, we give 5,000 rupees, something like that. So in the password strong when you can't do anything, no?
Yeah. No, I can't really just, I mean, I can't really get what you say. Can you repeat it, what you say?
No, in the recent past, there were some banks saying, don't divulge your account number, card numbers to third parties who will pretend as calling from a bank.
Yeah.
So that is the customer doesn't know whether it's from a real bank or anything like that, no?
No, it is like this. No, now sometimes when a particular organization, say bank, now you are having a internet facility with one of the banks. Then what happens is there will be a email sent by the bank asking for your password or something like that. So what happens is, though it is not the bank's email, it looks like the bank's email, but there, say for example, say it is say NSB, www.nsb.lk or something. No, that is the normal website. No, but what happens is, some other person can pretend that website, and they pretend that it is sent by the NSB, but it is not sent by NSB. So that comes to your mail, and it asks that your password has to be given or whatever, right? So then you should be so much vigilant to see that it is not the real website. So it is not the HTTPS or something is not available there. So that way you can really. So that's why now in internet facilities and all, this particular warning is given. No, have you seen that warning?
Yeah, it's given.
Yeah, that warning is given because of that. So therefore, you have to be careful now. Now it's like this now. HTTPS. There's a thing called HTTPS. No, now that is coming in the front. No, when the website is given in front of that website, you get that notation. No, HTTPS. If it is there, that means it is a secured website. It is a secured website. But normally these websites, the rogue websites, they don't have that HTTPS, right? But the customers really don't know, and they are not so vigilant. No? So therefore, they really just succumb to the scene because of that. I think the question is valid. I mean, that is there. That is there. So, but you have to be very careful and better if you do not really respond to that. That is for your safety. And you can really inquire from the institution whether you have sent it or not. Then you can get the confirmation. No?
That means before acting on anything like that, no?
Pardon?
Before acting on giving a password.
Yeah. You have to verify. You should verify. Yes, you should verify. So
bank doesn't have anything to do with that, no? If they get a wrong email like that.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, thanks.
And what I want to say is now this cyber security thing. It's a very important type of a thing, but these things are coming towards now. You all know that every person is now equipped or having a device, a communication device with him. So then this will affect the financial activities, in the financial system. So then those things can really impact several financial transactions. That is the reason of so much of worry comes to the people's minds. And this information security plays a major role here. So, I will just send you a certain type of document on cyber security and the way it has to be handled in an organization. But it's a little higher level document. But what I feel is if it is really useful for you, then you can really get the use of it. Then I will try my best to put that particular document to the site, and you will be in a position to access that. So anyway, that is what I can do with regard to cyber security. But we need to have this discussion active for the benefit of information security management in the organizations. And as it is now in this particular presentation, I just told you the security incidents. With regard to security incidents, now if something goes wrong or if something happened in the organization which would threat the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of the information, so that can be considered as an information security event. So there should be a reporting system for that. So that reporting system has to be, activated, and it should be operational in an organization. So I think as risk managers or CEOs or high-level officers, the people should have an idea about how this information security incident reporting is being done, because that is like that's like the nervous system where the particular thing, the particular message should go to the brain to really work on that. So likewise, in an organization, there should be a methodology to report all these information security incidents. So I don't know whether in your organizations, is there any any device or any methodology to report all these incidents as when it crops up, the information security incidents. There should be a reporting mechanism for that. What I feel is now in the operational risk management department also, they should really look into this and see whether there's a way of reporting information security incidents as and when it occurs. And the responsibility and the accountability has to be given to be assigned to some people on this. Or even in loss reporting, you need to have that type of accountability for everyone. Now I am just asking you whether in your organization now you ask this question from yourself whether it is available in your organization, the reporting of information security incidents. Any way or any methodology or any device to report all these things, and any place to report all these things. So if it is not available, then what you can do is you can really talk with the IT department, the CEO and all, and just arrange some methodology to report information security incidents as and when it occurs, and there should be a reporting destination and a place where you can take down these incident reports, and that will help the information security officer to manage those things. And first of all, you need to identify a particular what is an incident of information security, so that really taken as an incident where it would or it would likely to threat the confidentiality, integrity and availability of information. So that is the criteria of identifying an information security incident. So my question is whether your organization has a process to report information security incidents to a certain place, when and where it happens. So incident reporting. In most of the organizations, there's a ongoing discussion going on, and in Operation Risk Management Committee, meetings, the information security officer is also been invited. Normally. And I don't know, in your organization now, information security or information audit, there are officers with regard to IS audit. We call them IS audit, information systems audit. So these people should really work together with information security officers, operation risk managers and all. I think in most of your organization, there's a IS audit. Is that the case for all of you? I mean, even in finance companies, you have this information security audit, information systems audit, we call them. Information systems audit, they are in the auditing, they can just look at these security perspectives.
Yeah, well, that's taking place because now when we, for example, if we want my send this handout what to send for us, my official email, so it doesn't go there. It will be part saying that you have got unauthorized mail. Computer information system division and get it cleared.
Of course, yes.
They are taking precautions, no? Here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's correct. I mean, that should be the way. Otherwise, now it will really affect your whole system. So therefore, in order to avoid such type of things, this type of security features would be available. And at the same time, the IS audit will have to play a very active role in this case, the IS audit. And I think in most organizations, the information security officers, operation risk managers, and IS audit people will have to work together to deal with these things. Now, what I want to tell you is now that this discussion really help you to identify the types of processes which are in operation in your respective organizations, and to what extent they are successful or they are effective. So that is the question you need to get to your mind. So that question you should ask from yourself and see whether your organization is in what type of maturity in that. So if the maturity is not so satisfactory, then you need to, if you have the ability, then you should be in a position to suggest the management or suggest whatever your higher officer or what someone with regard to the strengthening of those activities. So that is the reality here, because ultimately, if the things are not in better good form, what could happen is it could really become a systemic risk, and it will affect the whole financial system. So therefore, in all your organizations, you need to see whether these things are in a proper form, and if it is not, and if you feel that it is far from satisfactory, then you will try your best to really suggest the necessary type of work towards that, necessary type of operation towards that, and it will really help your organization to be in par with better organizations and more secured organizations, and it will help to maintain the financial system stability. But I think nowadays the vulnerabilities are so high, because the integrity and confidentiality can be really compromised with this COVID-19 pandemic and all. There are several vulnerabilities now on, and never in any other time it happens, but nowadays the things are so dangerous, and therefore for the time being even you have to be very careful with regard to the integrity and confidentiality of information in your organization. And I think most of your top management is aware about it, but you also should have the relevant awareness on that. And if all are vigilant, then you can really safeguard your organization and avoid such type of calamities. I think most of you are doing work from home these days.
Yeah, we go rotation basis. So 1 week work in office, 1 week at home.
Is that that's a good way, no? I mean, anyway, the thing is now when you work from home, then the things really the security and all sort of things are how they are going to really maintain the security type of things, because you can really. Oh, that of course. Now I am not talking about the people who are very much loyal to the organization, but there can be people who are not that loyal to the organization, and then such people can do some harm. But the organization should have a particular security mechanism to deal with such situations, no?
Yeah, when you get the computer, so they give the dongle and we can log into only those sites only, nothing
Right.
else.
Right.
So if
Yes.
you try something else, it's put us out.
Right.
So that is restricted and given. When you take it home, that restricts a particular type
and it
site.
is password protected also, no? Password protected. Now, how do you really deal with some system breakdowns and all? System operators are there, no? Now, are they coming for work, or they are also working from home?
They are also working from home. Some people are there, so that few are coming to in the computer division. Few are coming to office. Few are from outside.
Yeah.
But you can call and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
But major issues don't happen.
Yeah. No, anyway, that's what. Now, I think we talked on in terms of the critical business activities and all. No, at least if you can carry out the critical business activities from home, so that is. I mean, for the time being, that's the type of fair situation. No, I mean, otherwise, how can you really do these things? Now, in a scenario, if you don't have these things, what happens is now we have to wait till the COVID is over. No, so that I mean that could not be in the near future. That is the issue. But nowadays we have been able to do something at least to deal with the critical business activities.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, what I feel is now, if we are really, I mean, articulative enough to think over these things beforehand, but that is not a normal practicality. But if people are so what you say proactive, then you could have done that. But anyway, uh, now at least now we can think about the future and see how we can really deal with the future challenges. That is what we need to do now, rather than just I mean, repent about what we have done earlier, what we have not done earlier even. So it is better to do something by looking at the future. Now itself we can do something, no, for the future. So that is what we need to do now. And another thing what I want to ask is now how your audit people, IS audit and other audit people are dealing with these things, because in risk management there are three lines of defense. Now you have first line of defense, the second line of defense, and the third line of defense. Now in all these risk management activities, the third line of defense is the audit, right? So you should be in a position to identify this third line. Now the second line is the particular risk management divisions, and even the compliance divisions can be taken as second line. The first line is the business people who are in the front line. So those people also should have a risk management perspective, but that is the first line of defense. But now you need to have some idea about audit people also, because they are in the third line. So with all that, those things, your mentality can be formed, taking into consideration the audit inputs also. Now, I think the audit people also have a task to evaluate the risk management and compliance type of activities in the organization. I think the business continuity management plan also being audited by the audit people. That is the third line. So the level last protection line. So what we need to do is for your organizations, all of you need to see what are the types of arrangements or governance activities which are in place in the organization with regard to these things. So if you feel any type of a discrepancy, then you need to clear about it, and you need to inquire about it and just get it cleared and be comfortable with that. Because if you have any type of a doubt with regard to the processes in your organization, and then you have to inquire about it and then get it clear. Or we can have a discussion on this. Don't give the name of institution, but you can just say this type of a shortcoming is really visible. So then what are we going to do about it, or that type of thing. So that is a good approach for those things. I don't need the name of the organization, but if you really talk on those things, this is a type of a discussion within the walls of this organization. No? So therefore, it won't be a problem for you, and it is not anything, any sabotage or any confidentiality issue, but you can just talk on these things in a generic way. Anything like that? I think you got my question, got my query. I mean, it is like if you feel that the governance structure or whatever has some issues or some doubts, then you can really inquire about it and see whether it is a doubt or it is a problem, or how are we going to deal with such an issue, and that type of thing. Without putting your organization into the scene, you can just ask me what it is. So now sometimes you have a certain type of a doubt about something, some governance structure or whatever, and if you feel that it is an issue, so we can get clear about it, because it could be really important for other people also, because you are not going to divulge your name or whatever, so you can just talk in generic terms. Now, first of all, you need to see whether these arrangements are in place. Now, arrangements in the sense whether the organization has a designated information security officer. That's an arrangement in the organization, right? Then whether the IS audit is really following up. Then the information security incident reporting mechanism. So those are the things which should be available in the organization. But the way it is being done is a different case. But at the first place, you have to see whether it is there. So that is what I am telling you. So if you feel that some of the things are not available, then you can ask me again and just divulge and see how we are going to correct it, how we are going to sort it out. So that's a I mean opportunity for you, and it will really help your organization also, because the organization will really instrumental in putting it as a systemic risk. And if that is the case, it will really affect the financial system as a whole. But in Sri Lanka, there are several institutions in the category of systemically important institutions. Because if something goes wrong with that institution, it will affect the whole financial system. Therefore, it is very much important for you to see that the things are going smoothly. So then it is very important at this moment to just talk on those things, and then we can have a discussion, and then we can try to see the mechanism of sorting it out. Now, this is what I want to tell you, security incident reporting. Now, as I told you earlier, whether you have a type of a process where you can report security incidents. Right, you can come up with your own suggestions or own type of issues. Because when there's a when you have a discussion or whatever, we can have an interaction. I mean, exchange of ideas. So that would really help even others. Now, if you want to just avoid the, I think, maintain anonymity or whatever, what you can do is you can just put it as a generic question, and you don't need to identify yourself. So that way you can do. Because I know that in some organizations there are several types of issues where it can really affect the organization's continuity, existence even. So therefore, if you can identify those things beforehand, then we are in a position to, put in place type of a safeguard for that. That is the most important thing. And if someone identifies that, so that's a great thing. So you can avoid so much of a high caliber calamities.
So now, okay, what's the normal function of IS audit now when they say they check what is coming in not relevant to the people?
IS audit, actually now they are the people who work as the third line of defense. So that means now even the risk management has to be audited by them.
What is taking place?
You got my point. Even the risk management has to be audited by them, because whether the risk management process is on, whether it is been done properly and all that, they have to do that. So that is the safeguard. The last level of safeguard is that. So then that's what I ask you. I mean, in generally, what happens is they don't do the relevant work they need to do. That is the issue. So therefore, the high-level people, even the board of directors, should be very much aware about their activities, because they do the real thing. So if they do the correct thing, and if they have to assure that the proper process is in place and that process is operated properly. So that is their concern, right? So I can just get an example. This security incident reporting, right? Now this security incident reporting, if it is being done properly and it is not done properly, then the IS audit should really, pinpoint that, and they can really get the people identified, the people who did not report the incidents, even though they observe those things. So these are the things which they need to do. IS audit basically. So therefore now, yes.
Do they now? I think they also has to propose something better to be happen. Likewise, they also propose it, no? So action will be taken by agents or in different departments.
Yeah. No. It's like this now. They should assure that things are being properly happening. But only thing is now, if the process is on and people are not following it, then they can find fault with the people.
Right.
That is what they do. Now, for example, now there's a methodology of security incident reporting, right? Now the process is there. No, that is on. Then one day a person find that there was a big security incident, but no one has reported it, right? Then what happens? Then now they will get to know that has not been reported and the severe damage been done. Then later on the audit comes and then they see that this has not been reported. So then they now just look at it and they see that the process is there. It is on. There's a security incident reporting mechanism. But in the mechanism, who didn't follow it? That is what they are concerned now. They will check the people and they will identify people who have not really followed the procedures.
Right.
That is what they do. But even now, if they don't do it, then that is their problem, no? Then we have to find fault with the audit. Then the board of directors should really sack them if that is the case. Right? No, that is how it really goes on. You got my point? Because
correct.
IS audit is that.
Is there something now? They presume that something to be updated, or they also have to tell that what it should be done.
Yeah. And the other thing is now people who are in the risk department, and they are responsible for the process. If they don't have a process, that is the responsibility of the risk department. So they have to identify a process and put forward into the operations. So that is the way, because the incident reporting mechanism has to be in place. Now that mechanism has to be operated by the department or the risk management or whatever, right? So, but if it is not being followed by a person, then the audit will find fault with those people.
Do we have any insurance for this cyber attacks? One likewise, if something
Actually,
happens.
actually speaking, I have not seen any type of insurance activities for this, but there are very few incidents where the insurance was really came into being, but it's very rare, because the reason is the cyber risk would not be taken as an insurable risk. The reason is it is very difficult for you to assess the impact. The impact assessment is very difficult. Because of that, the cyber security or cyber type of attacks are not being insured. I have seen in some places very rarely. Actually, I can't remember the particular place where I found it. But anyway, I just have a memory that there was a particular insurance payment or whatever for a certain type of cyber security attack or whatever. But anyway, it's very few if it is there, as your question. The information security type of things also the same. But there are some you know very frequent type of security damage or whatever. I think that can be insured, because the insurance companies have a knowledge on those things, and they have a risk adjustment for that. So therefore, if you pay a premium on those things, you would get some insurance claims on that. Otherwise, in general, you don't get for cyber security type of things. The main reason is it is very difficult for you to analyze the impact.
Assess the value, no?
Yeah. Assessing is very difficult. That is the reason. Now, even in insurance also, they really insure only the known risk. They are not going to insure unknown risk. That is the issue. I think your question is really valid. I mean, the insurance, the implication of insurance on these things. The matter here is most of these cases are not insurable interest. That is the issue. And I just found a certain document on credit risk now. I will just want to discuss about it, even though we have completed our credit risk management part. But since I just got it as a very important document, so I want to just really deliver it to you. So now I will try to just get it and have a discussion on that also, because that I see as a very important type of a document. And that document is prepared by the Standard and Poor. Now I will go into that document. No, actually, I want to just give that document, but I will send that document to your emails, and it is about credit risk management and risk modeling. But anyway, so we will go again to our information security presentation. Right. Now we talked about these threats and vulnerabilities and incident reporting, information incident, security incident reporting. And with that, we have been able to identify certain type of issues in an organizations. And as I told you, the IS audit also instrumental in these activities. So therefore, finally, I want to just tell you these things. Number one is to see that what is your business continuity management plan in the organization, then disaster recovery management activities, and how it is being disseminated among the staff members of the organization, and whether the business continuity coordinators are being appointed, and all sort of things you need to look at in an organizational perspective. And that is one side. The second part is you have to just look at the information security management system, whether your organization has a designated information security manager or information security officer, and whether the information security management is done with the help of IT department and risk management department, and if there are any information security incident reporting mechanism, and those things you have to look at. And you have to be just get an idea about these things and see whether your methodologies and the processes are in a satisfactory stage. If not, you have to identify the gaps and see how you can deal with those gaps and get your business continuity management process and information security management process into a satisfactory level. So that is the today's presentation. The core of the today's presentation is that. So with that, I think another few minutes are there, so you can just ask any other questions if you need to clarify anything. Yes. Any other things to be clarified? I will send that document to you, that S&P credit risk modeling document. Yes. Yes, now I have just given you the brief things which I have asked you, and I want you to do. Right. Now we have another few minutes left, and you can ask any type of a question or any clarifications. Yes. With that, then I will wind off the session, and next time we will talk on cyber security. And in the meantime, you can really go through your organization's business continuity management activities and the information security management aspects. Thank you very much.